Good afternoon. The history of Kerala. The term Kerala is found in the 3rd century BCE, a Mauryan inscription which is written by the king Ashoka. The later that center it's flourished for his trade and commerce activities between the Romans and Greeks. There are disputes among historians for the basis of the origin of Kerala. According to the Hindu mythology, the Lord Parashurama who created the Kerala. But in case of geographical formation, the geographers and geologists believe that the Kerala is gradually formed for a gradual process of earth forming system. On the available records, the Kerala history is divided into many periods. First one is ancient period, then it follows Sangam, then it is post-Sangam, then it is Kulashegara period, then the provincial rulers, then again the arrival of Europeans, then the British period comes to, and then last is followed as a freedom struggle and independence of India. The history of Kerala we can trace back up to 4000 BC. There are many microlithic tools which is found from various parts of Calicut. And there are many megalithic monuments that we can find all over Kerala. The Kerala have a wide range of trade relation with the West, Sindhu Valley and many other civilizations also part of it. The Kerala have a notable position in international trade and commerce. The King Solomon is received monkeys and peacocks from the native rulers. The Dravidians who come to Kerala from the Mediterranean region to the coastal region of Kerala, which is happened in the 700 BC. Aryans who come from the northern Indian region to the Kerala in 300 BC. The Buddhism which is spread in Kerala in the period of 270 BC and to 240 BC. This is happening during the period of Ashoka.
Sangam period in Kerala history. This period can be dated from the beginning of the Christian era to the middle of the 7th century. Sangams were assemblies or groups of poets which were in existence in various parts of the Pandyan Empire. The aim of these Sangams was to encourage poetic arts. 3 Sangams are known to have existed during the period. Hepilus, a Roman Greek sailor, reached Muziris in AD 45 and this enabled direct trade with the Roman Empire. The distance of sea voyages were reduced by the discovery of new routes. Many mariners like Hepilus, Panthenus, Huansang, Cosmos Idiocyplus, etc. landed at the coast of Kerala during this period. By around 50 to 125 AD, the Chera kings captured parts of northern Kerala. During this period also, Kerala had strong trade with the West. In AD 55, Saint Thomas reached Kerala and Christianity began to flourish. With the demolition of Jerusalem church by the Romans, the Jews fled from Israel and some of them reached Kerala. As per the book of Keralolpati, the period up to 216 AD is known as the Parashurama period and the period from 216 AD to 428 AD is known as the age of Perumals. The Brahmin families which migrated to Kerala were settled to 64 villages. In 644 AD, Malik bin Dinar reached Kerala and he constructed mosque and propagated Islam. Cheran Chengutwan was one of the famous rulers of this area. Now we shall look into post-Sangam period in the history of Kerala. The period ranging from the middle of the 7th century to the early part of 9th century is known as the post-Sangam period. This was the period when Buddhism began to decline. The main rulers of this period were Cheraman Perumal and Kulashegara Alvar. Both these kings later abdicated their thrones. Kulashegara Alvar later became a Vaishnavite poet and Cheruman Perumal accepted Islam and went to Mecca. Adi Shankara lived and propagated the Advaita philosophy during this period. Each king during the period was enthroned for a period of 12 years. After his term, a new king was selected following a festival or cultural event known as Mamangam. These type of events are unique to Kerala. Next, we shall look at Kulashekara periods in Kerala history. The next period in Kerala history is the period of rule of the Kulashekara kings. Kulashekara Empire lasted for about 3 centuries beginning from 800 AD. This period is also known as the period of Second Chera Empire. These kings were known after their family names as Kulashekaras. Kollavarsha or Koilan calendar was introduced during this period. It came into existence on the 25th of July 825 AD. Koilan city was reconstructed by Maru and Sabareso. The Pandyans retreated from Kerala occupations. Ravi Varma, Bhaskaran Ravi I, Bhaskaran Ravi II were the main rulers of this period. Between 1000 and 1019, Rajaraja Chola and Rajendra Chola attacked Kerala. Rajendra Chola seized Virinam. In 1070, Kerala was liberated from Chola control. Next, we shall look at the Kerala history period of the provincial rulers. Frequent wars with the Chola and the Pandya kingdoms weakened the Chera Empire and finally led to their breakdown. With the breakdown of the Chera Empire, the next phase of Kerala history began. This was the period of the provincial rulers. Provincial rulers were those who took control of a small province rather than a large empire. These provinces were once part of the Chera Empire. The provincial rulers were confined to a smaller area, but they frequently fought each other for domination. The kings of Wayanad, Kochi and Zamorins of Kozhikode were the prominent rulers. Next, we shall look at the European arrival in Kerala. Arrival of the Europeans marked the beginning of another era in the history of Kerala. In 1498, Vasco da Gama reached Kapat near Kozhikode. This was followed by the arrival of a number of Europeans. Though the main aim of their visit was trade and discovery of a shorter sea route to the Malabar coast, the prevailing political instability paved way for their entry into the administration. Making use of the rivalry between the provincial rulers, they started by providing military assistance to one ruler against another. By and by, their influence increased in such a way that the extent that they began running the administration with the rulers acting as puppets in their hands. Wars and skirmishes still continued between various native rulers, and this provided the Europeans more and more opportunities to interfere into the administration. The Portuguese were the first Europeans to establish stronghold in Kerala. This was later followed by the Dutch and the British. A number of battles were fought between the provincial rulers against each other and against the Portuguese. In 1524, Vasco da Gama was appointed the Portuguese Viceroy of Kerala. Kochi and Kozhikode were the main provinces in that time. Zamorins, the rulers of Kozhikode, fought a number of battles against the Portuguese. Following the Portuguese, the Dutch reached Kerala. They began by establishment of the Dutch East India Company in the year 1592. In 1604, the Dutch army arrived at the Malabar coast. They entered the arena of Kerala politics by making use of the rivalry between Kochi and Kozhikode. Their arrival marked the beginning of another phase in European domination. The Portuguese slowly began to lose control over the Dutch. Dutch established their base in various parts of Kerala and made a number of treaties with local rulers. These treaties bestowed them with more power. The Dutch supremacy lasted only for a short period of time before the British entered Kerala. In 1725, the French established their base at Mahi. But unlike the African continent, they were unable to make a move on. Even while the Europeans emerged as a great power, war continued between the provinces. Martanda Varma, the ruler of Travancore, was one of the strongest rulers of that time. With the arrival of the British began another chapter in Kerala history. Now we shall look at the British rule in Kerala. Like any other Europeans, British also had great interest in Kerala. They too were attracted by the spices and other natural treasures of the land. British supremacy in Kerala started by the mid-17th century and lasted for the next 200 years until independence. Though a number of wars and revolts were made against them, the British were able to suppress them quickly. This was mainly because of the lack of unity among the provinces. Kochi and Travancore were the prominent kingdoms. The rule of British saw many changes in the social and cultural lives in Kerala. Slavery was slowly abolished. English missionaries played an important role in providing and improving the living standards of the people. During this period, a number of educational institutions and hospitals were opened. Many railway lines, roads, bridges were constructed by the British. In a way, Kerala is indebted to British for the modernization. This period also saw the emergence of a number of social reformation movements. Many reformers like Chattambi Swamigal, Sri Narayana Guru and Ayyankali played a vital role in the upliftment of the downtrodden and the emancipation of women flock. Next, we shall look at the freedom struggle and independence. Though there were a number of uprisings against the foreign rule right from the beginning, its intensity and frequency increased by the early 1900s. The early revolts and the battles against the rule like the Parashi and Mappillai revolts were suppressed with iron fist by the British. The world wars weakened the colonial powers and this gave boost to a national movement in the colonies. In India, national movements gained momentum under the leadership of Mahatma Gandhi. These movements had their effect on Kerala as well. Kerala divisions of the Indian National Congress was launched. The Khilafat movement, organized under the leadership of Indian National Congress, had a huge influence over the Muslim community of the Malabar region. Following the Khilafat movement was the Malabar Mutiny, which happened in 1921. The movement lasted for quite some time before it was suppressed. The lower castes were denied permission to use the temple roads. Against this, in 1924 started the Vaikam Satyagraha. This was totally a social movement. This movement was successfully ended by the intervention of Mahatma Gandhi in 1925. In 1930, British levied tax on salt and they imposed restrictions on the production of salt. This aroused nationwide agitation. In Kerala, under the leadership of K. Kelappan, this law was denied and salt was produced. A number of big and small movements arose until 1947, when finally the land was free from the clutches of the colonialism. On July 1st, 1949, the princely states of Travancore and Cochin were integrated to form Travancore-Kochi state. But it was on November 1st, 1956 that Kerala as a state came into existence. This was by the consolidation of the Malabar province, which was part of the Madras Presidency and the Travancore-Cochin state. And this marks the development and the introduction of the Kerala state as we see of now. Thank you so much.